Hello and welcome to album review number 12. Today I'm going to be reviewing 10,000 Days by Tool, released in 2006. It is Tool's fourth album and to this day their most recent. Though if I was to make this video a year from now, that hopefully wouldn't be true because they are releasing their fifth album this year. Again, hopefully, let's hope it happens. And most people would probably agree, I'd much rather wait 12 years for a good album than 2 years for a mediocre one. So, but the thing is, I only really got into Tool about a year ago, maybe just over a year ago. So I can't quite understand the pain that the people have went through waiting for this new album. Um, I'm actually very lucky. It seems whenever I get into a band, they release a new album like as soon as I get into them. Like Pink Floyd, I proper get into Pink Floyd like 2014, and that was like a few months later they released their first album in 20 years. It just seems that happens with me. I just seem to get into a band just as they're about to release a new album. Um, so that's lucky. Or a lot of the time I get into a band as they're releasing a new album. That's probably why I hear about them, because they're popular at the time because they're releasing a new album. But 10,000 Days, the artwork is very, very cool. It features this sort of wee pair of glasses here that let you look at the stuff in the book that has sort of double images of the same image, and you look at them through these. And if you look at it a certain way, wait a few seconds for your eyes to focus, and it becomes a one picture, and it's really trippy, really cool. It goes in the theme of Tool's albums and the lyrics, introspection and third eye and oneness and within and all that stuff. Um, so really, really, really cool pictures. A lot of them, some of them pretty dark, some of them pretty trippy, some of them pretty creepy, but they're all really cool. I do like all of them. And Lateralus also has a very, very cool uh, artwork, and when I review that, I'll talk about that. I was gonna get this on vinyl, but I couldn't find it on vinyl. I wonder if the vinyl has this as well, though I don't think anybody's. I think you'd have to have a pretty big gap between your eyes if you were gonna look at this in the size of a vinyl, unless they were bigger. But yeah, it's very, very cool artwork, and I like that Tool. They don't just put it in a wee package. They go, oh, we need to have really, really cool artwork because that adds to the music, and it does. I really like that. Bands like Iron Maiden, they do lots of crazy artwork. It's really cool. I like it when bands, they create a personality for themselves, not just in the music, but the artwork. Anyway, 10,000 Days is Tool's fourth album, released, like I said, in 2006. And I'd say it's probably either my favourite or my second favourite behind Lateralus. I'd say they're just as good in different ways. One thing I really like that they've done since Lateralus, any Tool fans will know what I'm talking about. Tool albums are often broken up. There's a lot of long ones, but Tool albums tend to be broken up with short ones sort of sprinkled around. And I think with Lateralus and 10,000 Days, they've done it sparingly, and I think that's a good thing that they haven't overdone it. I think with Enema, their second album, I think they really overdid it with the short sort of ones that sort of break up the album. It's not a great through listen, Enema, in my opinion. I think there's a wee bit too much of these short ones that last like 50 seconds and a minute and a half, and there's ones that are just static noise and people talking. Though I don't have a problem with that. I think it just, at times you're sort of waiting to get to another song, Um, so I think they overdid it a wee bit with that, but I think with Lateralus and 10,000 Days, they've used it a lot more sparingly. They've just used it to break up a few of the sort of tracks. Don't want to have. I understand not having really long ones next to each other all the time. I get that. So I like that they've done it in Lateralus and 10,000 Days. They didn't do it at all in Undertow, their first album. That's why I haven't mentioned it. I guess you could count the final track, the 15-minute Disgustipated, which is just like static noises and talking and weird stuff. So I kind of like that they did that at the end of the album. So it's not really a song, but the other songs are quite short. Undertow doesn't have any really long ones, so unlike the preceding albums. But anyway, 10,000 Days starts with Vicarious, which is a fantastic opening track, and Tool have a track record of brilliant opening tracks. Apart from Undertow, I'd say Intolerance isn't one of the better ones on that album. I'd say Stinkfist, The Grudge, and Vicarious are much, much better, which are the three opening tracks of the other albums. But Vicarious is very, very good. I think most of it's in 5/4 time, and apparently the melody was inspired by King Crimson's Discipline, the track. Well, a lot of King Crimson's a lot of Discipline is in 5/8 with the guitar, I think. Though, like I said in my review, every instrument's playing a different time signature at some points, but you can kind of hear the similarity a wee bit. Plus, Danny Carey is like his favorite drummer is Bill Bruford. He's a huge King Crimson fan. In fact, Tool actually played with King Crimson. So yeah, that would have been great to see that. That would have been brilliant. No, I was like 4 at the time, so it's not gonna happen. But Vicarious is very good, very, very good, brilliant heavy riff to sort of end the song. It's a song about living sort of your life through the sort of pain and misery of others. Like you watch TV and you see people getting killed. I mean, like live TV. I don't mean like movies and stuff. And you sort of get a sort of rush of a sort of entertaining feeling off of the violence, and that's what the song's sort of about. And though Maynard James Keenan's not judging by any means, I think he's sort of saying that I've felt this too. But in the music video was very, very good. I'd say it's sort of has this guy sort of abstract, but it sort of has this guy who's watching these screens and he's watching violence and stuff, and he loves it. But it gets a bit too close to home, and he falls backwards, and then there's a baby inside his head, which is obviously how sort of how awoke he is, sort of how woken he is. How much his third eye is opened. Not at all. His brain is still a baby. I think that's sort of what that's saying. And then the baby starts to awaken. He starts to experience introspection, and then his third eye explodes open, and he goes through this stream of consciousness. He's all shriveled up, and then he just opens up like that, and I bet just gives me chills, especially with the da 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 sort of riff going on. Brilliant opening track. Jambai, or Jambi, don't really know how you pronounce it. Jambai, I guess would be how you pronounce it if you're going by the song. I think a lot of it's in 9/8. It's very fast paced song, and there's a very, very heavy riff. There's da 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 da, sort of near the middle. Very, very brilliant track. Very, very fast paced. Very very heavy. Not super complex, apart from some of the sort of more 9/8 bits. But it's a very good song, and I like that it's sort of it's got a similar structure to Vicarious in some ways, but it is very different at the same time. And I also like that it's quite fast paced, though while Vicarious can be very slow at times. Sort of a bit of a contrast between the two. But all around, it's a very good song, and it took me a while to sort of get into. Jambai was sort of one of the songs I didn't quite like on first listen when I listened to the album, but the more and more I listen to it, the more I like it. It's a very good song. I do personally prefer Vicarious, but Jambai is a great song. Wings for Marie Part 1, sorry, and 10,000 Days, Wings Part 2 are tracks 3 and 4. They're sort of one track in a way. I think the song's about Maynard James Keenan's mum, and how it took her about 10,000 days from when she contracted her illness until she died. I think, I'm not going to say that's 100% what it's about, because I'm not 100% sure. As far as I know, that's what it's about. They're both quite slow songs, and altogether it's about a good 18 minutes, a good 17-18 minutes if you add the two of them up. But they're very emotional, especially part 2, very, very, very powerful. sort of powerful crescendo as well. And another thing, if you listen to, there's a hidden track here. Wings Part 2 is about 11 minutes. Wings Part 1 is about 6.5. And Viginti Tres, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. The final track on the album is about 4.5 minutes. What you can do is, if you play Wings Part 2, the 11-minute one, and then at the same time play Wings Part 1, and then when that ends, play Viginti Tres, because those two add up to 11 minutes, it creates a hidden track that was purposely done. So if you can look it up on YouTube, somebody's made a perfect sync of it, and it sounds very cool. So that's what I love about Tool, adding hidden tracks, backwards things backwards, mathematics, Fibonacci sequence and Lateralis, just ridiculous how progressive that is. I mean, Lateralis for me changed the way music can even be made. Like, the way YYZ by Rush, they used a Morse code or a metric code from the from an airport to create a time signature. Nuts, absolutely nuts what some of these prog bands have done and how they've innovated. But I'd say that's why I much prefer Tool to Dream Theater. I just think of them as a far more innovative band. Dream Theater have got their keyboards and all that, and they've got their fast riffs and their complex time signatures. But Tool have changed the way that music can be made, in my opinion, with some of their songs. So, much prefer Tool. Track 5 is The Pot, which is about hypocrisy. Sorry, Pot calling the kettle black, and it's a very, very good song. Well, I'd say it's quite simplistic. I don't mind it as simplistic. It's one of the more simplistic songs on the album, and I think it was originally supposed to have a music video that was never made, or was made but wasn't released. There's people think it has a music video. There's like there's this like French film from the 70s or something. There's these snails taking over this town. That is not the music video. Okay, that was made decades before the song was even written, so that is not the music video. Just want to say that now, just in case anyone thinks it is. But it's a very good song. Maynard James Keenan's singing on it is very good. That's one thing I've noticed. It starts off with just him singing, "Who are you doing?" And his voice is very, very good on it. He sings quite high pitched on this song. He tends to sort of stick to a certain register or growl a wee bit, but I like that he kind of goes up in this song. It works. Good track. Life in Conjuring is one of those songs that sort of breaks up the album. I guess this would sort of be a mid-album sort of intermission. It's about a minute and a half, and it's just sort of chanting and stuff like that. Again, it's like I said, it sort of gives the band their personality. These wee snippets, these wee tracks. But I like that they've done that. I think songs like this were overdone on Enema though. But on 10,000 Days, they've only done it maybe once or twice. So I like that. Not much to say about it. It's nobody's favorite track on the album. I'm sure there's someone out there who say Life in Conjuring is their favorite song, but it's not my favorite. It's only a minute and a half, and it's supposed to sort of be an intermission, I think. Tracks 7 and 8 are also sort of a double. Lost Keys, Blame Hoffman, in brackets, Blame Hoffman, and Rosetta Stoned. Lost Keys, Blame Hoffman is about a guy who has come into a hospital, a patient. He was dropped off on the side of the road or something, and he won't talk to anybody. He's shaking, he's shivering, his breathing's really ragged, but there's no physical trauma, and you hear a doctor and a nurse sort of talking, sort of saying like, what's going on, who is this guy? And then Rosetta Stone is, him sort of telling them the story, though I don't think he's actually telling them. I think it's more in his own head, but he thinks he's saying it. One of those sort of scenarios. But I think it's all in his own head. I don't think, if you were to look at the lyrics of Rosetta Stone, I don't think he's actually saying all this out loud to the doctor. But it's about like a guy he was on DMT and he got abducted by aliens, or he was on DMT and thought he got abducted by aliens. One of those two, but the guy was definitely taking DMT, which apparently makes people see aliens in real life. I've actually heard about that. So yeah, it's a really interesting concept for a song, and the music is brilliant. Lost Keys sort of has this sort of starts with this long note, and then the notes start coming in, and it's very sinister, very eerie, and you hear, doctors talking, and the nurse and hospital noises. Very immersive track, very, very, very good. Um, then at the end, it has this triumphant doon 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 sort of riff, and then he goes, "Alrighty then, picture this if you will," and the Rosetta Stone kicks in, da, 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 and it's so experimental. There's complex time signatures all over the place in that song. There's so many, I couldn't even name them all. I think it opens in 8/8, but there's 5/4. I think there's 5/8. I think there's 9/8 at some point as well. It's just all over the place. And Maynard James Keenan, he sort of talks very fast. The lyrics, he doesn't sing it. Well, some of it he does, but most of it he just sort of sort of that. I wish I could learn the lyrics off by heart and speak it all straight through as he goes, but it's too difficult. I'm sure I will at some point, but every time I hear it, I'm sort of going, sort of pretending I know what he's saying. Well, I know what he's saying, but pretending I can keep up with it. But Rosetta Stone, the music's fantastic, and like I said, it's very experimental delivery. And there's some and I'd say Lost Keys is experimental in terms of the music. So I'd say Rosetta Stone, Lost Keys, Rosetta Stone are probably the most progressive part of the album. These two songs, because a lot of the other songs, they do have a sort of similar sort of. In terms of composition, sort of quite similar to Lateralis, I feel. Though Lateralis was a darker album musically, there was a lot of dark bass lines and stuff, and what's that song? The Patient, sort of near the end. You wouldn't hear that in this album. It's not as dark as Lateralis. I'd say it's probably 10,000 Days is probably the band's most uplifting, happy album. But it's not a happy album, but I'd say it's the least dark one. That's probably a better way to say it. But Rosetta Stone is so experimental. I'd say probably the most progressive, because Undertow, their first album, was very grungy, though it did have progressive metal elements. And then Anima is just all over the place. It's got industrial metal, it's got industrial, it's got progressive metal, it's got alternative metal. It's all over the place, and then it's got weird static noisy tracks, and it's even got the intermission, which is just a wee keyboard bit. So Anima's all over the place, and then Lateralis is just full on progressive metal, and then I'd say this one, it sort of follows up Lateralis but in different ways. So I'd say it's a progressive album. They're innovating here, and I really hope their new album sort of continues that. I really hope they innovate with their new album. Then you've got Intention, which I'd say it sounds a wee bit more like Lateralis. I think it would fit in Lateralis. It's not one of my favourites on the album. It's one of the weaker ones. But it's followed up by probably my favourite song on the whole album, Right Into is so powerful. I get so emotional when I hear anti-war songs like The Bravery of Being Out of Range by Roger Waters. Though the lyrics talk about how human beings have so much potential and squander it on war, and we hating on each other, when we could come together and build all these beautiful things and help each other, all that stuff. But it sort of takes a different perspective on it. I don't want to talk too much about the lyrics. If you know the lyrics if you listen to it, but the music's fantastic. There's a really, really brilliant 11/4 riff that sort of runs through quite a bit of the song. And it's got a sort of slidey guitar bit, the sort of doo, doo. And I love that little bit, and the song wouldn't be the song without it. I think that's an example of a band just adding in a little wee bit. Adam Jones must have come up with that, and it's just an example of a song that, or a bit of music that sounds a wee bit empty, so that are a wee bit naked, so the musician sort of goes, oh, why don't I add in this little bit, just a couple of notes, and it adds so much to the atmosphere, adds so much to the vibe. Writing 2 wouldn't be Writing 2 without the doo, doo, you know what I mean? Then at the end, it's so good. I'd say it's actually maybe my favourite Tool song. If not, then Lateralis, one of those two. So good. It's just such a powerful, beautiful song. And it doesn't have a music video, but someone has sort of made a music video online for it, and it's sort of this guy creating the people of this wee world, and then they all start fighting and hating each other, and he's like, what have I done? sort of saying that, you know, humans we're our own worst enemy. You know, we can't blame God or the devil. We are what we make ourselves. Little brainwashing from the government and all that doesn't help. Then Videnti Treads is sort of strange noises and sort of static, that sort of stuff. And you probably noticed I actually have the 10,000 Days poster over there. I think I'm going to run out of time here. I think I'm running out of battery. But 10,000 Days, all around, fantastic album. I'd say it's either their best one or their second best behind Lateralis. It's so good. And I absolutely can't wait for the new Tool album this year. Absolutely buzzing for it. But anyway, this has been my review of 10,000 Days, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to make a video soon talking about Tool and Dream Theater and why I prefer Tool. So any Dream Theater fans, I hope you don't get too offended, but I just much prefer Tool, and I'm going to make a video talking about it.